John Miller stood at the edge of the small spaceport, staring at the gray building in front of him. It was not like the large, bright auction houses he had seen in the main cities. This one was quiet and old, with paint peeling from the walls and lights that flickered sometimes. The sign above the door read Galactic Auction, Rare Items. Rare, yes, but not popular. Most of the buyers he had met before preferred new ships or shiny equipment. Here, it seemed like only old, forgotten things waited. John adjusted the strap of his small bag where he kept his savings. He had been saving for months, working on small repair jobs in the outer docks. Every credit counted. Today, he thought maybe something would change. He had heard rumors that some unusual ships passed through auctions like this. Ships that had been lost, ships that carried secrets, ships that nobody wanted. He did not know what he would find, but he felt a pull, a curiosity he could not ignore. He stepped inside. The air smelled faintly of metal and old oil. Few people were here. In fact, the room was almost empty. A small man behind a desk looked up and nodded at John. "You here for the auction?" he asked. His voice was soft but rough, like it had been used for many years. John nodded. "Yes, I heard there might be something unusual today," the man grunted. "Unusual, maybe. Most people skip the old stuff, not many buyers these days." He tapped a few keys on his desk, and a large screen lit up behind him. Ships' equipment, weapons, and strange devices appeared in a list. Most of them were scratched, dented, or broken. John's eyes moved quickly, scanning. His fingers itched to touch some of the tools, some of the small engines. Then he saw it. A Galactic cruiser. Not just any cruiser, but a large ship, bigger than most commercial transports he had ever seen. Its name was faded, almost invisible. The description on the screen said little: cruiser, unknown origin. Condition, stable, rare opportunity. John stared. His heart beat faster. He could not understand why nobody had bid on it. Such a ship should cost millions. Yet here it was, alone, waiting. He could feel something inside, though he did not know what. A pull, a whisper, as if the ship itself called him. He raised his hand. "I'll bid," he said, almost without thinking. The auctioneer, a tall woman with silver hair, looked at him with surprise. "Are you sure this is no small investment?" John nodded. "I'm sure I want it." The auction began. No one else raised their hand. No one else seemed interested. The final call came, and John's bid was accepted. He had spent nearly all of his savings, but it was worth it. The ship, the unknown cruiser, was now his. A small crew of workers guided him to the docking bay where the cruiser waited. It was enormous. Its hull reflected the weak lights of the port. John walked along the gangway, feeling the vibrations of the engines through the metal floor. The ship was silent but not dead. He could feel it. He stepped inside. The air smelled clean, unusual for such an old ship. The corridors were wide, the walls smooth, and lights flickered on as he moved. It was as if the ship recognized him. John stopped and placed his hand on a control panel. The screen glowed. A soft hum filled the room. He wandered through the halls, amazed at the size. Crew quarters, dining areas, control rooms, everything was intact. The ship seemed preserved, almost frozen in time. John's mind raced. Who had built it? Why had it been abandoned? What stories had it carried through the galaxy? He reached the captain's quarters. The door opened easily. Inside, a desk stood against the wall. A small data crystal rested on it. John picked it up. He turned it over in his hands. Strange symbols were etched on its surface. They were not like any human writing he had seen. His curiosity burned. He needed to know. He connected the crystal to a small reader he carried. The symbols shifted into lines of code. Slowly, John began to decode it. The messages were old, very old. They spoke of missions far from Earth, monitoring alien civilizations, exploring systems no one on Earth had ever reached. The realization hit John. Humans had gone far before, much farther than history remembered. A soft alarm beeped suddenly. John looked up, startled. A panel on the wall had opened. Behind it were strange tools, star maps, and a small compartment with a holographic log. He activated it. A figure appeared, a human-like officer, recording messages in a calm voice. The log told of a mission to study a distant galaxy, of discoveries humans had made, and a warning about a mysterious threat approaching Earth. John felt a chill. This ship was not just a relic. It was a message, a legacy. He spent hours exploring the ship. Every room, every corridor seemed to hold secrets. The engines were powerful, far beyond anything John had worked on before. The weapons, dormant but visible, hinted at a time when humans were builders and warriors among the stars. he realized that he had not just bought a ship. He had bought history, technology, and knowledge that could change everything. Night fell outside the port, but the ship's interior remained alive. Lights shimmered, panels glowed softly, and the hum of dormant engines seemed like a heartbeat. John sat on the floor, leaning against a wall. He felt small in the vast cruiser, yet connected. It was as if the ship trusted him or waited for him to unlock its purpose. Questions raced in his mind. Who had abandoned the cruiser? Why had it waited for someone to find it? What dangers or wonders lay hidden in the galaxy? He knew he could not answer all these questions alone. But he also knew one thing clearly. His life had changed forever. He stood and moved toward the bridge. The viewports were dark, showing the blackness of space beyond the port. He imagined the stars he would see, the planets he could visit, the mysteries he could uncover. A feeling of determination settled over him. This ship was more than metal and circuits. It was a chance, a key, and a challenge. John activated the main system slowly. The ship hummed in response. Panels lit up, and the engine's soft vibration reached his feet. He tested controls, moving levers and pressing buttons. Lights danced across the walls. He felt a thrill, a mix of fear and excitement. The cruiser was alive, waiting for him to guide it. Hours passed. He did not leave the ship. He explored, tested, and learned. Every room held something valuable, from maps to hidden storage compartments. He discovered small food synthesizers, maintenance tools, and even a small library of data. The more he explored, the more he realized that humans had achieved greatness in the stars long ago. This knowledge, forgotten by time, was now in his hands. Finally, exhausted but exhilarated, John sat in the captain's chair. The seat adjusted to him automatically. The controls responded to his touch. The ship seemed to recognize his presence. He looked out at the port one last time. Outside, the world remained small and quiet. Inside, the cruiser was enormous, powerful, and full of secrets. John smiled. He did not know what awaited him in the galaxy, but he knew he was ready. The empty auction had led him here, to a ship that no one wanted, to a discovery that would alter everything. He leaned back, imagining the stars, imagining adventures beyond anything he had ever dreamed. And deep inside, the cruiser seemed to hum in agreement, as if whispering, "Let us begin." John woke early the next day inside the cruiser. Light filtered through the windows, reflecting off the polished metal walls. He stretched, feeling the hum of the ship beneath him. It was quiet now, almost peaceful, but he knew it would not stay quiet for long. There was much to explore, much to understand. He started with the bridge. The captain's chair adjusted to his size automatically, and panels lit up under his fingers. He pressed a few buttons, watching the displays come alive. Star charts, ship status, and unknown symbols filled the screens. Some were simple to read, showing the ship's energy levels and engine condition. Others were strange, alien-like symbols that he could not recognize. He made a note to study them later. John moved to the ship's corridors. The cruiser was enormous, far bigger than any human ship he had worked on before. He passed the crew quarters, each room neatly kept. Beds were folded, personal items stored carefully, as if the crew had left in a hurry. He wondered what had happened. Why had the ship been abandoned? Why had it waited here untouched for so long? He entered the dining area. Tables and chairs were intact. A small food synthesizer on the wall hummed softly when he pressed a button, producing a warm meal. John smiled, amazed at the technology. It was simple to use, yet advanced. Humans long ago had built machines that could feed a crew anywhere in the galaxy, instantly and efficiently. After eating, he returned to the captain's quarters. The data crystal still rested on the desk. John picked it up, studying the symbols again. He connected it to his reader and continued decoding. Slowly, patterns began to make sense. The crystal contained records of past missions, reports on planets and stars, and messages to future humans. Some of the logs were thousands of years old, yet the information was clear. One entry caught his attention. It spoke of a distant system where humans had studied alien life forms. The notes described creatures that were intelligent, but unlike anything humans knew. The writer of the log explained how humans observed the aliens carefully, never interfering, yet learning from them. John felt proud. Humans had not been small, weak, or unimportant. They had explored and learned in silence, leaving no trace for future generations. Curious, John explored further. He found a hidden panel in the wall. Behind it was a small storage room filled with tools, star maps, and a few weapons. The weapons were dormant, but their design was unlike any modern human technology. Sleek, powerful, and precise. John picked one up and turned it over in his hands. The weight felt natural. The materials were light, yet strong. He realized humans of the past had built technology that could compete with any civilization in the galaxy. He continued through the ship, reaching a room labeled Observation Deck. The glass walls looked out into space. He could see distant stars, a small asteroid belt, and the empty docks of the spaceport below. He pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared. Star systems, planets, and charts he had never seen filled the room. The ship had recorded information from across the galaxy. Each point of light represented a world humans had visited or studied. John felt a thrill. The galaxy was vast, and humans had been part of it long before anyone remembered. As he explored, he noticed a faint sound, a soft beep coming from a panel in the corner. He approached and pressed a few buttons. A hidden compartment opened, revealing another data crystal. This one was smaller, older, and more delicate. John connected it to his reader. The display flickered and a hologram appeared. A human-like officer spoke in a calm, steady voice. "Attention," the officer said. "This is a message to any human who discovers this ship. You have found a vessel of great importance. Its mission was to observe, protect, and learn. The knowledge within is vital for the survival and growth of humanity. Use it wisely." John listened, his heart beating faster. This was more than a ship. It was a message from the past. Humans had traveled far, learned much, and prepared for dangers John could barely imagine. He felt a weight of responsibility. The cruiser had chosen him to continue its mission. He spent hours decoding the holographic logs. Some described distant planets, their climates, and life forms. Others recorded battles, strategies, and warnings. One log mentioned a threat approaching Earth, a warning that humans must never forget. John shivered. He had not expected to find such information. Yet here it was, waiting for him to discover. John realized he needed to learn how to operate the ship fully. The controls were complex, but he had worked on many ships before. He began testing engines, navigation systems, and communication panels. The ship responded smoothly. It seemed to understand him. When he made adjustments, lights shifted, engines hummed differently, and systems aligned perfectly. It was as if the ship was alive, or at least aware. By evening, John had mapped much of the cruiser. He had found storage rooms, laboratories, observation decks, and even a small hangar. The hangar held smaller crafts, scouts or shuttles, neatly parked and maintained. They were compact, fast, and ready to launch. John imagined exploring planets, visiting distant systems, and testing the ship's limits. The possibilities were endless. Despite his excitement, he felt a sense of loneliness. The ship had been empty for centuries. He was the first human to step inside in generations. The silence sometimes felt heavy, but he also felt a connection. The ship seemed to welcome him, guiding him through corridors, revealing secrets, and encouraging him to explore further. At one point, he entered a large control room. Panels covered the walls, showing energy flows, star charts, and mysterious symbols. He pressed a button, and the room lit up. A holographic map of the galaxy appeared. Stars blinked, connected by lines, showing possible routes for exploration. Some points glowed brighter, marking planets humans had visited or studied. John's eyes widened. The galaxy was mapped in detail, more than any modern human chart could show. He spent hours studying the maps. He traced paths between stars, imagining where humans had gone, what they had seen, and what they had learned. The thought filled him with pride. Humans had once been explorers, travelers, and innovators. The ship was proof. Suddenly, a panel on the wall beeped rapidly. John moved closer. The display showed a warning, unidentified objects detected near the ship. He froze. He had not expected company, especially not so soon. He scanned the information. Small drones, fast-moving, appeared on the sensors. They were alien, not human. Their purpose was unclear, but they were approaching quickly. John's mind raced. He had never faced a real threat in space. He had repaired ships, dodged debris, and survived small accidents, but this was different. These drones could damage the cruiser, destroy it, or worse. He needed a plan. He ran to the hangar, opening one of the small scout crafts. He checked systems, weapons, and navigation. Everything was functional. The drones were approaching. He activated the cruiser's defensive shields. Lights flashed across the walls, engines hummed, and panels beeped. The ship reacted, protecting itself. John felt a thrill. He had expected a machine, a tool. Instead, the cruiser acted like a partner, responding to his actions, helping him defend it. The drone scanned the cruiser, then retreated slightly. John watched carefully, learning their patterns. He noticed they avoided certain energy fields and reacted slowly to sudden maneuvers. Using the scout craft, he practiced small attacks, testing weapons and evasive moves. The drones were fast, but he was faster, cleverer. He began to understand how to use the ship's technology effectively. Hours passed. The drones finally moved away, leaving the ship alone. John breathed heavily, his heart still racing. He had faced a real danger and survived. The ship remained intact, as if proud of his success. John realized something important. Human ingenuity, creativity, and quick thinking were the keys. The ship had power, but it relied on a human mind to use it wisely. By nightfall, John returned to the captain's quarters. He sat on the floor, data crystals around him, logs displayed on screens. He reviewed everything he had learned that day, the missions, the maps, the warnings, the technology. His mind was full of possibilities. The cruiser was not just a ship. It was a treasure trove of knowledge, waiting for humans to rise again. John smiled, feeling both exhaustion and excitement. He had survived the first day alone with the cruiser. He had explored, discovered, and even defended it. But he knew this was only the beginning. There were more secrets, more dangers, and more adventures ahead. He leaned back, closing his eyes for a short rest. The ship hummed softly around him. Outside, stars twinkled in the vast darkness. Inside, John felt a connection to the past, to humans long gone, and to the future he would help shape. Tomorrow, he decided, he would explore deeper. He would learn more about the ships, the missions, and the galaxy humans had once walked among. The empty auction had given him this ship, but it had also given him purpose. John was no longer just a mechanic. He was a guardian of human knowledge, a discoverer of secrets, and perhaps the first step toward humanity's return to the stars. And as he drifted into sleep, the cruiser seemed to respond, its engines pulsing gently, ready to guide him through whatever lay ahead. John woke early again, the hum of the cruiser surrounding him like a quiet heartbeat. The last day had left him tired but excited. He had seen so much already, hidden rooms, ancient data, alien technology, yet he knew there was more to discover. The ship was alive, he felt it, and it wanted him to explore further. He made his way to the bridge. The displays glowed softly, and the panels seemed to welcome his touch. Today, he decided he would try something new. He wanted to wake the cruiser fully to understand its true power. The engines had responded to him in small ways yesterday, but he believed they could do more. He adjusted the main console, pressing buttons and levers in combinations he had learned while exploring the ship. At first, nothing happened. The hum remained steady, the lights flickered slightly, but the ship seemed calm. John frowned. He had expected more. Then slowly the engines began to vibrate more strongly. Panels shifted, lights pulsed faster, and the displays showed energy flowing through circuits in patterns he had never seen before. The cruiser was waking. John felt a thrill run through him. The ship reacted to his touch, to his decisions. It was not just a machine. It was a partner. A thought passed through him, strange and sudden, as if the ship was speaking without words. "We are ready." He pressed a few more controls, and the cruiser's systems fully activated. The engines glowed softly, the shields hummed, and the navigation panels lit up with star maps. John ran his hands over the controls, feeling power at his fingertips. He tested the engines gently, moving the ship forward in the empty dock. The cruiser responded immediately, smooth and strong. For the first time, John allowed himself to imagine traveling through space in this vessel. The galaxy was vast, full of stars, planets, and mysteries. The ship had seen it all before, and now he could too. Yet he also felt the weight of responsibility. This was not just a ship. It was knowledge, history, and power. John moved to the hangar to check the smaller scout crafts. He had learned yesterday that they were fully functional. He selected one and tested its engines. It moved with incredible speed, almost like it had a mind of its own. The drones that had approached yesterday had been fast, but these scouts were faster. He realized humans of the past had built technology meant to survive any challenge in space. He returned to the bridge and studied the holographic logs. There was more to learn. Some logs described alien civilizations humans had observed. Others described threats that had appeared near Earth centuries ago. John shivered. The galaxy was not safe. Humans had survived before, but they had faced danger. He understood now that the cruiser was not just a relic, it was a tool to protect humanity. As he worked, a new sound echoed through the ship, a soft, rhythmic tone, almost like a warning. John ran to the sensor panel. On the displays, he saw a small fleet approaching. Drones, similar to those he had encountered before but more numerous and faster. They moved in formation, scanning the cruiser. John felt a knot of fear. He had never faced something like this before. He took a deep breath and remembered the lessons of the past day. Humans had survived not because of strength alone, but because of cleverness, creativity, and quick thinking. John looked at the controls, studying the cruiser's weapons and shields. The ship had power, but he needed to guide it. He activated the defensive shields. Blue energy flared across the hull, protecting the cruiser. He then tested the weapons systems, firing a few small energy pulses at a floating target in the dock. The cruiser responded perfectly. John smiled. He was learning and the ship was teaching him. The drones reached the dock. Sensors showed them analyzing the cruiser. They were fast, intelligent, and precise. John studied their movements carefully. He noticed patterns in their flight's small delays after certain maneuvers. He adjusted the cruiser's engines, moving in ways that were unpredictable. The drones struggled to keep up. John piloted the cruiser like he had never piloted anything before. The ship responded to every decision, every adjustment. The lights flashed, engines hummed, and the panels displayed real-time data. It was a dance of human ingenuity and ancient technology. Slowly, the drones began to retreat, unable to match the cruiser's speed and adaptability. When they finally left, John slumped in the captain's chair, exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced real danger and survived. The cruiser remained intact, responding to him as if proud of his success. He realized something important. Humans were clever, inventive, and resilient. The ship had power, but it relied on human skill to use it fully. After the encounter, John explored more of the ship. He found hidden laboratories, storage rooms, and a small medical bay. Each area contained tools and devices humans of the past had created. The medical bay had machines capable of healing almost any injury. The laboratories contained samples, data, and equipment designed to study alien life. John felt awe. Humans had been explorers, scientists, and guardians of knowledge. The cruiser was a record of their achievements. He spent hours in the observation deck looking at the stars. He imagined planets humans had visited, systems they had mapped, and threats they had faced. The galaxy was vast, full of life, mystery, and danger. Yet humans had survived before, and he believed they could survive again. As night fell, John returned to the bridge. The cruiser's lights glowed softly, panels displaying star charts and systems. He reviewed the logs again, finding more information about ancient missions and the warnings humans had left for the future. He realized that the ship had waited for someone capable of understanding and continuing its purpose. That someone was him. John felt a growing connection to the cruiser. It was more than metal and circuits. It was alive in a way he could not fully explain. It responded to his decisions, guided him, and revealed secrets at the right time. He understood now that humans had built machines to work with intelligence, creativity, and strategy. Alone, the ship was powerful. With a human mind, it was unstoppable. He tested the engines one last time for the day. The cruiser responded immediately, gliding smoothly through the dock. He practiced turns, speed changes, and evasive maneuvers. Each movement made him more confident. He realized that he could trust the ship to follow his lead. Together, they could explore the galaxy, face dangers, and uncover secrets long forgotten. John paused and looked at the main display. A star system far from the Sol system glowed on the map. It had been marked in the logs as a place of interest, a system humans had studied centuries ago. He made a decision. Tomorrow, he would take the cruiser into space, beginning the journey he had imagined for so long. The galaxy awaited, and he was ready. Before resting, he recorded a small log of his own. "I have activated the cruiser," he said, speaking into the recorder. "It responds to me, guides me, and reveals secrets. I have faced danger, survived, and learned. Tomorrow I will leave the dock and begin exploring the stars. Humans once walked among them. Now I will continue their legacy." He shut down non-essential systems, leaving the engines and main panels active. The cruiser hummed quietly, as if in agreement. John lay down in the captain's chair, staring at the ceiling. He thought about the galaxy, the knowledge humans had lost, and the dangers that might be waiting. Yet he felt hope. Humans were clever, inventive, and resilient. With the cruiser, he could continue their work. Sleep came slowly, but it was deep. The ship remained alive around him, lights pulsing gently, engines humming like a heartbeat. In his dreams, he saw stars, planets, and alien civilizations. He saw humans of the past, exploring, learning, and protecting knowledge. And he saw himself, carrying the legacy forward, guiding the cruiser through the galaxy. John woke before sunrise, ready for a new day. The cruiser awaited him, alive and responsive. He had activated it fully, faced the first real threat, and proven that human ingenuity mattered. Tomorrow he would leave the dock and take the ship into the unknown. The galaxy was vast, full of danger and discovery, and he would face it all. He smiled. The empty auction had given him more than a ship. It had given him purpose, challenge, and adventure. And now, with the cruiser awake, he was ready to explore, discover, and continue the story of humans among the stars. John woke with the hum of the cruiser filling the cabin. Today felt different. The ship had been fully awake since yesterday, responding to every command and movement he made. It felt alive, almost like a partner, and he knew that today he would uncover the greatest secrets hidden within it. He began in the observation deck, staring at the holographic star maps. One system in particular caught his eye. The logs had marked it as a critical point of interest, a place humans had once visited to study an alien civilization. It was also near the area mentioned in the warnings about a potential threat to Earth. John's mind raced. He realized that this was more than exploration. He might have to prepare for a real danger. He moved to the bridge, studying the cruiser's systems. He ran checks on engines, shields, and weapons, ensuring that everything was fully operational. The ship had never been idle, but John was learning how to make it respond faster, work more efficiently, and anticipate challenges. It was a partnership, a collaboration between human ingenuity and ancient technology. As he prepared the ship for departure, John found a small storage room he had not explored before. Inside were compartments filled with glowing data crystals and storage modules. Each held knowledge from humans long gone, records of planets, star charts, scientific experiments, and messages for future generations. One crystal glowed differently with a soft pulse. John picked it up, connecting it to his reader. The display flickered, then revealed a holographic figure. The officer looked serious but calm. "To the human who awakens this cruiser," the figure began, "you have reached a point of critical importance. Within this ship is technology capable of shaping worlds. Humans of the past used it to protect themselves, to explore, and to preserve knowledge. Use it wisely. There are threats approaching Earth, dangers unseen. You must act carefully, for your decisions will determine the future of humanity." John felt a shiver run down his spine. The responsibility was immense, yet he also felt a surge of determination. Humans had survived and thrived in the past through cleverness, courage, and adaptability. He knew he could rise to this challenge. He studied the logs and maps carefully, identifying the system nearest to the approaching threat. Small alien ships had been detected moving through the outer reaches of the solar system. They were fast, intelligent, and potentially hostile. John understood that the cruiser's capabilities were needed to confront them. He returned to the bridge, activating the navigation system. The cruiser hummed, engines pulsing as the ship prepared to leave the dock. John felt a thrill. He had piloted ships before, but never one like this. The cruiser responded instantly, anticipating his movements, adjusting shields and energy flows automatically. It was more than technology, it was a living companion. The launch was smooth. The cruiser glided out of the spaceport, its massive engines glowing as it entered the void of space. John watched the stars pass by, feeling both excitement and caution. He knew the galaxy was vast and danger could come from anywhere, yet he also felt hope. Humans had always risen to challenges, and he would continue that legacy. As the ship moved deeper into space, John accessed the cruiser's hidden laboratories. There, he found devices capable of analyzing alien technology, repairing damaged systems, and even enhancing human abilities temporarily. Each discovery amazed him. Humans of the past had thought carefully about survival, exploration, and adaptation. They had left tools, guidance, and knowledge for anyone who might continue their work. Hours passed as John prepared for the encounter. The sensors detected the alien fleet approaching faster. Small drones scouted ahead, reporting back to larger ships. John adjusted the cruiser's shields and weapons, ensuring maximum efficiency. The logs had taught him strategies, tactics, and how humans had survived in similar situations long ago. Finally, the alien fleet appeared. Tiny ships moved like a swarm, scanning and probing. John could see their shapes clearly now, fast and precise, but not without weakness. He remembered the lessons from yesterday. Human ingenuity, quick thinking, and creativity could overcome even the most powerful opponents. He guided the cruiser in complex maneuvers, dodging attacks, and responding to threats with precision. The ship seemed to anticipate his actions, shields adjusting automatically, weapons targeting effectively. He realized again that the cruiser was not just a machine, it was a partner. It amplified human skill, turning cleverness into real power. As the encounter continued, John noticed patterns in the alien fleet. They avoided sudden changes in speed and were slower to react to unexpected moves. Using this knowledge, he planned a counterattack. He activated the ship's energy pulses, firing carefully targeted strikes at key points in the fleet. The alien drones faltered, some retreating, others destroyed. John smiled. Human thinking, combined with the cruiser's capabilities, was stronger than he had imagined. After hours of maneuvering and calculated attacks, the alien fleet withdrew, leaving the cruiser alone. John breathed heavily, exhausted but triumphant. He had faced a real threat, tested the ship's limits, and survived. More importantly, he had proven that human intelligence and creativity could overcome challenges no one else might have expected. With the immediate danger gone, John explored the final hidden section of the cruiser, the central archive. This area held the most advanced technology on the ship, capable of creating energy fields, mapping galaxies, and even reshaping environments on small planets. The logs described its use carefully, emphasizing responsibility and careful planning. John understood that this technology had been designed for protection and exploration, not conquest. He spent hours studying the archive. Each system, each device, was more advanced than anything humanity had today. Yet the ship was designed to respond to human thought, guiding those with intelligence and creativity. John realized that humans had once been masters of the galaxy, not through brute force, but through cleverness, innovation, and understanding. Night passed as John worked. He documented everything he had discovered, creating a record for future humans. He mapped the star systems, noted the locations of alien threats, and wrote instructions for operating the ship. The cruiser hummed around him, a silent witness and partner, responding to his commands and guiding him gently. By morning, John felt ready. He knew the cruiser's secrets, its capabilities, and its purpose. He activated the engines fully, feeling their immense power. The ship seemed to pulse beneath him, alive and ready. He set a course for the distant system mentioned in the logs, prepared to explore, learn, and protect. As he traveled, he reflected on the journey. The empty auction had seemed unimportant at the time, but it had changed his life. He had discovered a cruiser full of secrets, faced alien threats, and unlocked technology that could alter the future. Most importantly, he had realized the value of human skill, creativity, and courage. Humans had once shaped the stars, and now he would help them do it again. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, but John felt no fear. The cruiser was with him, responsive and alive. Together they would explore, discover, and face whatever dangers lay ahead. The galaxy was full of mystery, but humans were capable, clever, and resilient. He had proof in his hands, in the ship, and in himself. Hours turned into days as John piloted the cruiser. He practiced maneuvers, explored nearby systems, and continued studying the logs. He discovered more about ancient civilizations, alien threats, and the tools humans had created for survival. The ship revealed secrets gradually, teaching him patience, strategy, and clever problem-solving. One day, a distant signal appeared on the sensors. It was faint but structured, artificial. John traced its origin to a small, uncharted planet. The logs had not mentioned it. Curiosity and caution guided him. He approached slowly, preparing the cruiser's shields and weapons. The planet's surface glowed faintly, strange structures visible from orbit. John landed the cruiser carefully. The engines adjusted automatically, stabilizing the massive ship on the uneven terrain. He stepped out onto the planet wearing his suit and walked toward the nearest structure. It was ancient, but the technology was unmistakably human. Somehow, humans had reached this place long ago. The realization filled him with pride. Inside the structure, he found more data crystals and equipment. Logs described experiments, research, and observations of alien life. John understood that humans had once explored far beyond the known galaxy, learning, surviving, and leaving knowledge behind for others. He felt a deep connection to the past. He was not alone. He carried the legacy of generations of humans who had walked among the stars. Returning to the cruiser, John set a course back to Earth. He knew that the knowledge he carried could help humanity survive and thrive. The ship had been waiting for someone clever enough, brave enough, and determined enough to continue its mission. He was that person. As Earth grew larger in the viewports, John reflected on everything he had learned. The empty auction, the cruiser, the alien threats, and the ancient human knowledge had all led to this moment. He was no longer just a mechanic from the outer docks. He was a guardian of human legacy, a discoverer of secrets, and a pioneer among the stars. He piloted the cruiser carefully into orbit. Earth looked small, fragile, but full of potential. John felt hope. Humans had once walked the galaxy, and now they could again. The cruiser hummed, responding to him, guiding him gently. He smiled. The journey had only begun. John Miller stepped out onto the observation deck, watching the blue planet below. The cruiser had changed him. Humans were clever, resourceful, and brave. With the knowledge and power he had discovered, he could help them rise to their place among the stars once more. The empty auction had led him to this ship, and the ship had led him to his destiny. He whispered to the cruiser softly, almost as if speaking to a friend, "Let's make history again." And the ship hummed in reply, alive, powerful, and ready to face the galaxy with him. An empty auction led me to buy a galactic cruiser. The discovery inside altered everything.